Good. Thank you.
So wonderful to see you this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've all very much been looking forward to this bonus class with you, Geshe, and so very thankful that you've been able to find this extra time for us. Really, thank you so much. So welcome everybody. This is our final teaching with Geshe Thubten in this series, and so we like to start all of our special events with a acknowledgement of country, and then we'll do the request to Geshe. So our acknowledgement of country, we acknowledge and pay respect to the Jagera and Turrbal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which Langri Tangpa Centre resides, and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that we're actually on stolen or borrowed land, and so we seek to live harmoniously with all the beings here, seen and unseen. And then to request the teachings. So if you would like to join in the mandala as a way of putting all of our virtues and good-heartedness and good intentions and wisdom to the forefront to get the very most from the teachings, and to really show our appreciation. Ni de yang pai din sang ye jin du mi te o wa yi zhuo ku nan da xin lai zhuo bai shuo jie zun lama da pai kien nan ki zhe gu ka lai kian se chu zin zhi ji ta san pen du jie zi ma la zhe ge chui ki cha pa wa tu so idam guru rana mandala kamni atayami.
So, good morning, everyone. Again, it is lovely to see all of you again, and thank you for joining for today. So again, we take a couple of minutes to generate good intention, motivation for being here. May I ask coming here together and engage in discussions, reflections, contemplations, become a cause and condition to transform all the situations, especially difficult situations, into the path. And may we be able to transform all the situations to cultivate and to increase the two bodhicitta mind. And may it become cause and condition to actualize and obtain our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be a greatest help, benefit to each and every sentient being. Okay.
So, Geshe, if you would like, then there are the refuge prayers, if you would please lead them for us.
I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient. Sangye Chodam Soge Sonam Chanchu Pado Tane Kata Dagi Shoshe Gibe Sonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Duba Sangye Chodam Soge Sonam Chanchu Pado Tane Dagi Shoshe Gibe Sonam Gi Dola Penje Sangye Duba. So for last 3 weeks, we have been discussing the 8 verses of mind training by Geshe Tangpa, and we have discussed up to verse number 6, and each of those verses are to help if we practice properly and contemplate as those teachings are given, then to transform all the situation, and especially difficult situation, into the path. Transforming into the path, and also transforming all this situation to decrease our selfish attitude, self-importance, instead through those practice, helping us to develop, sense of humility, respect to others, to develop patience, and to develop sense of preciousness, dearness of other sentient beings and the situations created by the other sentient beings, and through that, seeing them as a best teachers on our for our spiritual progress, for our spiritual path, seeing them as most precious, like a treasure, precious treasures, wish fulfilling jewels, and so forth, and then by able to see that, then trying to cultivate love and compassion to all sentient beings. So more or less, I think we, without going so much, I don't want to take so much time. And so then today we are on the verse number 7. And this is kind of the summary of the previous 6 verses. So on that's to deal with the altruistic intentions or the bodhicitta mind. So here, in short or in summary, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all mothers? So directly, if we can reduce the pain and suffering of others by taking on ourselves, indirectly through practice, meditations, visualizations, then we try to take other sufferings, and then offer all our happiness and benefit to all mother sentient beings. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful action and suffering. And the word is being secretly being used here, and you often see that when it comes to the teaching on exchanging self with others, the practice on exchanging self with others. And so this is part of the practice on exchanging self with others. And such exchanging self with others, and the practice of this one explained the practice of Tonglen, taking and giving, and which is part of exchanging the self with others. And it is in some commentaries, it is explained, it is known as secret because in the past, it was passed orally without being so public about those practice, and because also, this practice requires a lot of courage. So if you don't have strong courage, then this practice might not be, someone might have difficulty with this practice, at the very beginning, because we already feel overwhelmed by our own sufferings, our own problems. And this practice required kind of imagining, visualizing, taking on others' problem and others' sufferings and cause of other suffering yourself. So for some people, if you don't have the courage, you might feel overwhelmed by that. How can I take others' pain and suffering and problem when I myself is overwhelmed by my own small problem and suffering? And for that reason, again, sometimes it is called secret, because it's such practice is giving to very particular suitable students or disciples who have more stronger courage to do this practice. So, but also I'm also wondering, of course, I'm just kind of, I haven't seen any in the commentaries, but also I'm also thinking it could be also explained in a secret, because when you do the practice of Tonglen, taking and giving, we do the visualizations, imagining taking on others' suffering, problem, and cause of suffering and problem on ourselves. We imagine and visualize giving all our happiness, all our goodness, all our positive, sending them and giving them. So we are doing that mentally, we are doing that practice mentally. And so in a way, it is doing secretly, because when you are taking on others' sufferings, nobody can really see that you are actually, in your mind, you are taking their suffering, problems, cause of suffering. Nobody can see it. Also, when you give, when you send and give all your virtues, all your, happiness, all the positive karmas, sending and giving them, also, nobody can see it. So because you are doing through your mind, and so therefore also it becomes a little bit like a secret. Only that nobody can understand, nobody can be aware of that or see that. So anyway, so this practice is, one thing I think we have to understand. The purpose of this practice is to develop strong courage, very strong courage, to develop strong courage, at the moment, if we have to take someone's problem and suffering on ourselves, we will be very hesitant, we will be very hesitating, because we don't have the courage, Forget about taking the suffering of everyone's problem and everyone's sufferings. And not only everyone's problem and suffering, every problem and every suffering and cause of every problem and suffering, and I don't think at the moment, we feel confidence and courage enough to do that. Also, at the moment, we don't have the confidence and courage enough to share all our goodness, all our virtues, all our positive karma, all our happiness, everything with others. Because, we might think, if I give that, what will happen to me, What will happen to me, So we are afraid and fearful of giving everything, all our goodness, all our happiness, all our positive. And the fear we have, if I share it, if I give you, what will be left for me and what will happen to me, that kind of fear and, and so we don't have enough courage at the moment. But someone like Bodhisattvas who have developed very highest level of courage, they don't have any kind of fear like that, any kind of fear, any kind of hesitations. You know, when they find any opportunity to give, share something they have, something good things that can be benefit and help to others, they would be able to give without any hesitations, without any fear, but with joyfully. And if there is any opportunity for them to take others' pain and suffering and problem, to reduce the pain and suffering of others, they will delightfully, joyfully, without any hesitation, fear, worry, they will be able to do that. And the reason they are able to do it and we are unable to do it is because we don't have the same level of confidence, courage like they have. So this practice is to really help us to develop that kind of courage, like the Bodhisattvas, the courage of the Bodhisattvas, the confidence and courage like the Bodhisattvas, to develop that and to develop and to improve loving kindness and compassions. You know, the practice of taking is related with the compassions. The practice of giving is related with the loving kindness, you know. And so we have to, if we understand that, then I think, you know, then a lot of questions people might have will be kind of answered it, to know that you might be thinking, you know, oh, I'm not really taking someone's suffering. I'm just imagining and visualizing. Am I just kidding myself? You know, because it seems like, you know, I'm not really taking someone. I'm just imagining and visualizing. So how does that help that person to reduce their pain and suffering? I'm just imagining and visualizing, giving all my virtues, all my happiness, sending all of them. How does that really help that person's? In person, so you might think, you know, so if we think, even though we are doing that kind of visualizing, but is to develop that courage and loving kindness, compassion. That is the main purpose of these meditations, to have and to exchange the attitude, or transform the attitude. You know, at the moment, you know, all the good things I need for myself. All the bad things I don't need. All the problem, all the suffering, let someone take it. Let someone take it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Everything that's good and positive and happiness and everything, let me have it. Let me have it. You know, so here, through that practice, we try to change that attitude in a way that we are willing to share and give our happiness and virtues, all the good things to others. And we are willing to take on the suffering and pains of others and problem of others if it can reduce others' pain and suffering. And so to have that, so really to understand that is for that purpose, you know. Okay. So of course, you know, when we start any of the practice, you know, any of the meditation, we start the starting point here. We can start with someone you feel easy to do that, you know. So you can start with yourself, or you can start with someone who is very dear, close to you, you know, and think of their immediate problem, suffering, pain that they might be going through. You reflect, contemplate on that. As you reflect and contemplate on their pain, their problem, their suffering, it becomes so unbearable, as though it is your own problem, your own suffering, your own pain. As it almost like your own problem, your own pain, and unbearable, then you have a strong wish to get rid of that pain, that suffering, that problems. And when you have that strong feeling of compassion, wanting to free or wanting to get rid of the suffering or problem, then you started to do the imagines. So first you do that, and so you develop sense of compassion, sense of wanting to free the suffering, the problem, that. On the basis, once you feel that, then you can imagine and visualize as you breathe in, taking all their pain, all their suffering, all their problem, as well as all the cause of all the problem, all the suffering in the form of dark energies. As you breathe in, you breathe through your nostril and you enter your heart and destroy your selfish, and then destroying your selfish self-centeredness or selfish attitude, with that energy, destroying that and transforming into something positive, something in positive, transforming something in a positive energy, such a, and then you try to again think of that person's, they are looking for a lot of happiness, they are trying to find whatever, they are trying to find a happiness, to have happiness of good relationship, happiness of financial security, maybe the happiness of well-being, physical and emotional, mental well-beings, or higher happiness of, so those are kind of temporary samsaric happiness, and then higher happiness of liberation and fully enlightened states. So even though they wish that, but even though they want and they wish that, but you see they are struggling with that. At the moment, they are struggling with that. They are lack of that happiness. There's a lack of that happiness in their life at the moment. They are struggling with that, trying to get those level of peace, happiness. And so again, you try to contemplate on that with that particular persons. You feel close, whatever they are looking for. And then, again, feel as though it is your own struggles and your own something you want to achieve, something you want to, have so desperately, so strongly. So feel like it is as though it is your own, as your own. And then once you have that, then you feel like you want to see them to have that happiness. You want to have, sincerely from your heart, you wish and you want them to have that happiness and the cause of that happiness. And that is the loving kindness. That is the attitude of loving kindness. That is the mind of loving kindness. So once you have that in order to improve and increase that loving kindness, become more stronger, then we use this technique of visualization, imaginations. And then you can visualize and imagine, sending all your excellent quality, positive qualities, all your happiness, all your virtues, whatever good things that you have to offer, and then in the form of white light, white energy, from your nostril, and then it goes, and the very moment it touches that person, observing that person, and that moment, that person's, receive the peace, the happiness, the joy, and the cause of happiness and joy, and temporary happiness, ultimate happiness, and the cause of temporary happiness and ultimate happiness. So you do that. So that is basically, and then once you are good at one person's, someone who is very close to you, which is more easier to ask to do that, then you extend to someone who is more like a neutral person, and then slowly you try to extend that to someone you have difficulties, someone you have difficulties, and then slowly you expand to all sentient beings. And then you to do that same practice in relation to all the sentient beings. Okay. So of course, this practice can be very, very extensive, but won't go too much into that, because I think we just conclude about that practice. At least you have some idea about how to do the practice, and of course, those who are interested and who want to apply that, then at least you have some idea how to do it, and if you can apply, So then that is after verse number 7, as I mentioned before, is related with the relative or conventional bodhicitta or altruistic intentions, and then the last one is related with the ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom. So, undefiled by the stain of the superstitious of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the boundaries of the attachments. So, when we try to practice, maybe first of all, let me explain that way. In a Buddhist studies or scriptures, we explain about the basis and the path and the result. Okay? The basis is the reality, how they are, and the basis is true truth, the ultimate truth and conventional truth. Because there is true truth on the basis, because there is true truth, therefore on the path, then there is two, the method and the wisdom. The method is the one that relies the ultimate truth, and the method, the wisdom is the one that relies the ultimate truth, and the method is part of the realization of conventional truth. The object of the method, such as loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, the object of those is a conventional reality or conventional truth. So because there's true truth on the basis, therefore there's two on the path, there's wisdom and the method. Or you can say wisdom and compassion, but if you say method, then it's much more broader. When you say compassion, it becomes just one state of mind, but when you say method, then it includes loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and all other bodhisattva practices, method practice. And because there is on the path, because there's wisdom and the method, then as a result, then you achieve two Buddhahood, two kayas. Because of the wisdom, you achieve Dharmakaya body, and because of the method, then you achieve Rupakaya, the form bodies, And so therefore, again, the Dharmakaya can be divided into two, and Rupakaya can divide into two, and then they become 4 kayas, but generally it's 2 to start. So that is, so I think, so therefore, in order to achieve the result, the 2 kayas to be most benefit to all sentient beings, then we need to engage into the path, the path, the wisdom and the compassion, the wing of the compassion and the wisdom. And so the path of the wing of the compassions or the method has been explained, and this one explained the wing of the wisdom here. So here, when we try to practice method, loving kindness, compassions, bodhicitta, trying to help others through the practice of generosity, through the practice of moral discipline, through the practice of patience, and so forth, through the meditations. So when you're trying to help and benefit others, sometimes that can be defiled or polluted and diluted. That practice, wanting to help and benefit others, can be polluted, diluted, or defiled by the attachments of the eight worldly concerns. And when that practice, on one hand, you want to help someone, you want to benefit someone. And as a way of helping and benefiting, you are, for one example, providing generosity, whether it's, whether it's material things, whether your time, whether it's your knowledge, whatever you are trying to help by giving that. While we're that, at the same time, one corner of our mind, we might expect them to like you. I want them to like me. I want to help. At the same time, I want them to like me. Or I want them to acknowledge my help. Or if they're on one corner, we want them to appreciate your help. So while you are trying to help, but one corner of that, there's something that, some expectations, certain level of expectations. And this is because we are attached to, because we're attached to being acknowledged, we're attached to being liking by others, we're attached to, so that is why we have that. And when you have that eight worldly concern, one of those eight worldly concern attachments, then your practice of trying to help someone does not become as pure as it can be. Then your practice has been a little bit diluted. Your practice has been a little bit polluted and defiled. And therefore your practice does not become as sincerely or as pure as it can be. And therefore it cannot become as powerful and effective as it can be. And so therefore, we have to let go of the eight worldly concerns. Eight worldly concern, or, eight mundane concern, whatever you call is, And eight worldly concerns is very much relevant in our life, all the time. Unfortunately, as much as we wish that isn't the case, but at the moment, that is the very much, so eight worldly concerns, without going through details, as Nagarjuna explains, when we gain, we're happy. Opposite of that, when we lose, we're unhappy, depressed. When we have a enjoyment or joyful experience, we're happy about it. When you are unhappy experience, then you are very unhappy, depressed about it. 4. And then when someone praise you, we are said nice thing and praise you, we're happy about it. And when someone criticizes you, doesn't say not so nice to you, nasty things, we are so unhappy about it. And when you have some kind of good reputation, fame, we are happy about it. And when we become insignificant or when we don't have good reputations, then we become very unhappy that. So because we are so attached to the 4 of them, gain, happiness, praise, and reputations, great reputations, then we have aversions and very unhappy mind when we encounter the opposite of those 4. Therefore, our experience in our life is very fragile. Up and down, up and down. One moment we are very happy, next moment we are very unhappy. Because one moment someone praise you and next moment someone criticize you. One moment you are feeling happy and next moment you are not so feeling so happy, that affects you so much. One moment we make some gain, and next moment we might lose something, and again that change. And so that is how our life is very, in terms of our emotions so unstable, up and down, moment by moment, when there is a change in that. And that comes through that kind of strong, attachment to those 8 holy concerns. If we don't have attachment to those 8 holy concerns, if we can develop sense of equanimity to all this, then our emotions will be much more stable, balanced. And because our emotions are much more stable and balanced, our life will be much more stable and balanced. At the moment, our life experience emotion very unbalanced because of that. It changes so easily due to change in those situations and due to the 8 holy concerns relating to that situations. And so therefore, Nagarjuna advised to practice equanimity in relation to those 8 holy concerns. Being okay if you gain, being okay if you lose, being okay, not much difference. If people praise, being okay. If people criticize, being okay without being so much affected by it. Either way, if you have good reputations, being okay. If you become insignificant, or if you don't have a great reputation, also being okay, it doesn't affect you so much, And our minds is impermanent, our emotion impermanent due to change in things. Some days we are feeling a little better, some days we are not feeling so great. Either way, being okay with that, not being too excited when you feel good and too depressed when you don't feel so good, Instead, being okay, I'm not feeling today so great, but that's okay. I'm feeling good, but I don't have to jump so much, It's okay. That could change, I don't have to keep on jumping so much with excitement because something's good happening, because that could change. And I don't have to be so depressed, things are not going so well, because that could also change, And so therefore, trying to keep more equanimity that. And one way of keeping all this equanimity, of course, by understanding the impermanent nature of all of them, as I mentioned, everything's, even you are losing something, but that's not permanent. You could gain. But if you are gaining that, again, it's not permanent. You could lose. If someone is praising, it's not permanent. That could change. And someone who praises you today, they could criticize you tomorrow. Or also other way around, someone who criticizes you today, they might praise tomorrow when they understand you better or see the situation better. So, and therefore, so through that understanding of impermanent nature, one way of kind of keeping equanimity. Another way is by seeing, as it said in this word, by seeing everything as like illusions through the understanding of emptiness, So when we talk about emptiness, which is the ultimate reality or truth or nature of the things, meditating on emptiness, there are two stages, maybe, if I can say, one is during deep meditations, what you call meditative equipoise, deep meditations on emptiness. One is when you are out of that deep meditation and post meditations, when you are actually engaging into the world. So you try to meditate and practice on emptiness when you are in a deep meditation on emptiness, And then when you come out of that meditation state, post-meditation, and when you get engaged in the rest of the world, how to apply that. And so this one particularly refer when you are actually engaging into the world, you know. So when you are actually engaging into the world, we see different things, good things, bad things. We hear good things, bad things. We smell good and bad. You know, we taste good and bad. We experience physically good and bad. Mentally, emotionally, we encounter good and bad, many things. So whatever it arises, whether to our 5 senses or 6 senses or to our minds, mental state, by reminding ourselves, by remembering and reminding ourselves, whatever is appearing, that is appearing, they are not true as it appeared to me. They are not as real as it appeared to me, but they are like illusions. By remembering that, by recollecting that, by seeing. And so what it means is, you know, illusions is an example of something, the way it appeared to our mind, that is not how really the things are. There's a disparity between the appearance and the mode of existence, the way things are. You know, for example, through magicians, you know, through whatever his trick, he creates some kind of illusions. You know, due to many cause conditions, many trick, he created illusions. So he created, you know, from something, whatever he created, through his trick, he created like a bird. Even though he is not really bird flying, he can deceive us to our mind. To our mind, it seems like there is bird flying, but it's just a trick that he created, that illusions. So the way what is really there and what appears to us is different. The way it appears to our consciousness, to us, and the way the things really are is not the same, you know. So illusion, same thing, you know, even though when something good things, you know, you hear something, you see something, you feel something, you think something, whether it's good or bad, there's appearance that what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are feeling, what you are thinking, all of them as being so real, so true, you know, something truly existing bad, truly existing good, you know. Even though to our minds it appears, that is why we get so attached or upset. Because when something appears so, you know, so bad, when something appears bad, it appears so truly bad, you know, so real, that bad, so real and bad from its objectively, from its own side. And we believe that that is the case. We believe that is the reality. And therefore we have strong aversion towards that. We have strong disliking towards that. On other hand, something appears very good, very positive, very nice, whatever. And not only that, that there's a very nice, you know, real, very nice, truly nice from its objectively, from its own side. And once we see it appeared that, and then we believe that, we grasp that, perceive that way, and then we have a strong attachment, you know, wanting to have that object, not wanting to let go of that object. Then attachments arises. And with that kind of attachment, aversion, or anger, then it creates a lot of suffering and problem in our life, as well as suffering and problem in the life of others. So on the other hand, if we see, oh, even though it appears so real good or truly good, or good from its own side, even though it appeared to me, but that is not the reality. It's just a deceptions. If you are, it's just like illusions. That appearance is a deceptions, because the way things exist is not the way they appear to our consciousness in that moment. And so once you realize that it's not as true, not as real good or beautiful as it appears, but it's more like a deception, like an appearance, then you don't get so strongly attached to it. Then you don't feel like your mind is caught up with that, strongly grasping and not wanting to let it go. And same when you understand, even though whatever, you know, whatever you are seeing, whatever you are hearing, whatever you are feeling, whatever that it looks, even though it appears so bad or not nice, and you know, and so forth, as so real, as so true from its own side. But if you are able to, even though that is how it appears, but that appearance is just a deception. That appearance is just a deception. That is not how things really exist. You know, because there's no truly existence, because there's no inherent existence, existing its own side as it appeared to us at the moment. And therefore it's just like illusions, that appearance of deceptions. Once you are able to recollect, remember that, then again, you don't have a strong aversions, you don't have strong dislike, you don't have strong anger towards that object. And then when we have that, then, you know, whatever it will, you know, whatever situation happens, we are able to keep our mind neither being so aversion to certain situations and not being so attached to certain situations, but instead more equanimity, more balance. And so, so of course, for us at the moment, because we don't have a realization of emptiness, you know, we have to remind that all the time. We have to remind and recollect that all the time. But once you have a direct realization of emptiness, and when you are in deep meditations on emptiness, and when you come out of the deep meditations, and when you actually engage in the world, because of the imprint or the power of your deep meditation on emptiness, naturally everything's appear like illusions. You don't have to remind yourself, you don't have to recollect, but just everything's appear naturally as illusions. But for us, we don't have that, because we don't have an understanding of emptiness directly, so it doesn't appear like illusions at the moment, you know. It appears so real. It's the opposite. So we have to remind ourselves all the time, remind. In the meditation, we try to meditate on emptiness as much as possible, deep meditation, and when we come out of that meditations, again, we remind ourselves. And because of your meditation, in your meditation, you realize that nothing exists inherently, truly, from its own side. And so when you say it is like an illusion, reminding, then you are not just kind of, it is real, because you are understood that is how not really things, even though it appear to mean that way, but that is not how things are, because you have a certainty or realization through the meditations, you know. And so then we remind of our, again, like an illusion, like a all the time. And then we engage in that, you know, whatever spiritual practice, Dharma practice, or whatever you engage into, by being aware, you know, everything's like illusion, everything being like illusions. And so then we don't have strong dislike, strong liking, strong attachment, strong anger, you know, strong strong self-centeredness, you know, So all of that, so then that can start to reduce our afflictive emotions. It will start to reduce and destroy our afflictive emotions slowly. And also that will help us to, as it reduce the afflictive emotions, and then as we meditate on bodhicitta, then it helps us to develop the bodhicitta more quickly and more faster, because we have less and less delusions to interfere with our loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. And also by understanding the emptiness, then we understand, nothing exists inherently or independently. Everything is interdependent, interconnected, interrelated. And by understanding everything is interconnected, interrelated, our happiness is related with others' happiness. Others' happiness related with our happiness. And through that understanding connections, taking care of others is taking care of our own, taking care of others' well-being is part of taking care of our own well-beings. Through that understanding, then again, it becomes more easy to develop loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta mind. So then that can support that. So I think maybe with the time limit, then maybe we just, so we have 5-minute break, yeah?
Yep, okay.
So, yeah, I'm I'm not so sure which, maybe we can do it online. I've been kind of whether to do an emptiness or online, but
maybe can we do on Tonglen, Geshe, and then there's a couple of questions about emptiness.
Okay. So, just try to make yourself as comfortable as possible. And try to quiet your mind. Then we can generate intentions, right intention, by thinking may the meditation become cause and conditions. To achieve fully enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then you can think someone in front of you, someone who is very dear, close to you. And who might be going through some of the challenges, difficulties, physically, emotionally. Then, think about their problem, suffering, pain. Reflect, contemplate. Until it becomes like your own pain and unbearable. So then once you have this feeling of like your own pain and unbearable, trying to generate a strong wish to free from whatever pain, suffering, problem, and cause of pain and suffering. Then you can visualize at your heart small black dot that symbolize the selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. And then as we develop a wish to free them from this whatever problem, suffering, and cause of that, with a strong feeling, you imagine and visualize taking all their pain, suffering, and the cause of them in the form of dark energy as you breathe in. Enter through your left nostril or both, and then enter through your nose, and then that dark energy destroy that your selfish attitude. So try to that to visualization, imagine again and again until you feel you have totally taken on all their suffering, problem, and cause of all of them completely on yourself. And then completely destroying your selfish attitude and transforming it. So try to imagine, visualize taking not only one problem and suffering, but all the problem, all the suffering, and all the cause of all the pain, suffering, problems. Then having destroyed the selfish attitude, then transform in the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. Our whole body is filled with loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. Now try to think that persons or that sentient beings, even though they wish to have a healthy life, physically, emotionally, mentally, even though they want to have a great relationship, financial security, or whatever, they wish, they want. And the happiness, all the happiness, including the happiness of permanent happiness, of liberation and fully enlightenment. Even though they so much wish all of that, they are struggling to find those happiness and the cause of happiness. So try to reflect, contemplate. And try to feel that they are feeling the desperate need and wish to find more peace and happiness in their life. Not only temporary peace and happiness, but ultimate, lasting, true peace and happiness. Once you feel that, how they feel it, how desperate they need the happiness, wish them to have all the happiness, all the solutions, all the peace, all the goodness. And the cause of all of them, good health, good relationship, financial security, and mental happiness, peace, not only temporary, but lasting, true mental peace, happiness. And develop a strong wish to lead them to those happiness and cause of those happiness. Once we have that strong wish to lead them to the happiness and cause of happiness, then out of your loving kindness, compassion, as you breathe out, send all your excellent qualities, positive qualities, virtues, happiness, anything that can be helpful, beneficial, all of them in the form of white light energy as you breathe out, touch that person or that being, observe into that person's, immediately that person, the being, receive all the solutions to the problem, to the suffering. The joy, happiness, good health. Not only temporary happiness and joy, but lasting true happiness. As well as the cause of all those happiness. So again, you try to again and again, sending all of your positive energy, virtues, goodness. And with total convictions that they receive that. And totally change and transform their situations, their state. So then you can do that same to someone who is more neutral in your life. You know, again, they also have their own problem, their own suffering, which they do not wish. And they are just same, no different from our dear one, near one. Try to think of their pain, their suffering. Even though we might not know specific problem in suffering, but they have the same problem in suffering. Same health issues, financial situations, relationship, not being satisfied, happy. Again, try to think, reflect until it becomes your own and unbearable. But it doesn't become like that, don't worry. You don't have to struggle. Just let it feel however you feel it. Then generate a strong wish to free them from the suffering, the problem, and cause of suffering and problem. Then as you breathe in, you visualize taking all their problem, suffering, cause of suffering in the form of dark energy and enter through your nostril and destroy your selfish attitude. then you can think that just like our dear ones, they also like to be happy, temporary, the ultimate happiness, joy, but they struggle, they lack, even though they're desperately trying to achieve that, desperately want that, they struggle. So try to feel, understand that, feel it. Then wish them all the best to achieve all their solution to the problem, all the joy, all the happiness. Peace in the cause of all the joy and happiness and peace. Not only temporary, ultimate peace. So as you breathe out, you again visualize sending all your positive energy, virtues, positive qualities in the form of everything they need, in the form of white and light and energy, transforming into whatever they need, fulfilling all their needs, all the happiness, in the cause of happiness. Receiving all the temporary and ultimate happiness. Then we can start thinking of someone you dislike very much, someone you have conflict, personal or not, but someone you have problem, dislike. Again, think, even that person's, is same, just like ourselves, our dear ones, and the neutral ones. Simply, they just want happiness, do not want suffering, just like ourselves, no difference. As much as they do not want suffering, but they are experiencing so much suffering, so much pain, so much problem in their life, just like everyone else. Sometimes physical health problems, sometimes financial problems, and the sufferings come that. Sometimes relationship problems, sometimes argument, fight with others disliking them, criticizing them, being unhappy, dissatisfied, a lot of things in their life. So they are also experiencing so much pain and suffering. So try to reflect, try to feel as much as possible. And try to feel a wish to free them from their all problems, suffering, cause of suffering, as much as we can. Then as we breathe in, we visualize taking all their pain, suffering, problem, and cause of pain and suffering in the form of dark energy enter through your nostril and destroy your selfish attitude and transform it. Imagine and visualize all their suffering, pain, problem, cause of them having totally taken on yourself. Then you can think again, just as they want good health, good living, being loved, and have a peace and joy in their life. Again, they struggle for that. Unable to achieve that. Try to reflect, contemplate on that. And try to generate a strong feeling and a wish to give them or lead them or give them to the, all the joy, all the happiness that they are looking for, that they wish for. As well as the cause of those happiness and joy. As you breathe out, send all your positive energy, virtues, and excellent goodness, whatever we have to offer. As we breathe out in the form of white light energy and transforming into whatever they need, and giving them all the joy, all the happiness, all the peace in their life, not only temporarily, but ultimately, permanently, and the cause of all the peace and happiness. Then we can dedicate the virtues for oneself and all sentient beings to actualize the true Bodhicitta mind within our mind stream. And to achieve fully enlightened state for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then you can bring back your attention to the breath. And then you can slowly open eyes.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of questions, and I tried to kind of roll them in together. So okay. the main thing seems to be that when we're dealing with people's expectations of us, we're trying to have a mind of equanimity so we're not reacting in extreme ways, or when we're trying to develop our wisdom you know, and have a mind of equanimity, how do we make sure that we don't slide into indifference? How do we tell what's the, you know, that it's equanimity and not sliding into indifference?
Equanimity, that you feel same way, the way you feel, let's say, intimate persons, you know. Equanimity is when you feel same kind of love, compassion to others as much as you feel for yourself, feel for your dear one, near ones. Okay, so you feel same equally to all. That is equanimity. Whereas indifference is, you know, it doesn't matter whether someone die, whether they're sick or no, you know, you have no feeling. You have no feeling, you know. So that is indifference. You have no feeling, doesn't matter to anything. But in this, you have feeling, but you have equal feeling. Equanimity in that, you have feeling, but you have same equal feelings, you know, instead of being kind of, and in equanimity, in indifference, you know, then you don't have a really feeling, you know, it is just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. So yeah, that would be one way of differentiating in relation to the persons, people, or sentient beings.
Okay, thank you. And then when we're checking with our the 8 worldly concerns, how can we really check up that they're not creeping in before they explode in extreme?
Yeah. I guess one of the things is that whenever we try to do anything, whether it's a practice in terms of meditations, or whether it is doing a service to others, individual, organization, whatever, you know, or trying to help someone, whatever, always trying to check the motivations, whether I have any expectations for doing that, or whether for doing the meditation, or whether we are trying to help or support someone, and then trying to, if we see that there's some expectations, some motivations are not completely correct, and trying to change that motivation, trying to not have the expectations. And so I think that require kind of practice at the very beginning. We might not be able to remember that all the time, but if we put effort to remember time to time, then slowly, maybe we might be able to remember all the times, you know. And that remind me one of the story of Geshe Thubten. I think one story I shared before about him. And one time, you know, because he was in hermitage and meditating, and he has a sponsor supporting him for his meditations, you know, to support all of that. And one day he heard that his sponsor, benefactor, was coming to see him. So then he tried to, you know, clean more, set up the altar very nice to impress the sponsor, the benefactors, you know. So he did an extra than normally, you know. Normally he does, but he doesn't put that much effort. That day he started to put much more effort, made it very nice altar, clean and everything. And then he sit down to check his motivations. He sit down and then he check motivation, then he realized his motivation, not right motivation. He did that because he wanted to impress the sponsor, the benefactors, because he was coming. The moment he realized his motivation was not totally pure and it has been diluted or defiled by one of the 8 worldly concerns, he got up and took dirt and throw the dirt to the altar and mess up everything. So mess up everything, and he said, you know, he spoke with himself, you know, stay quiet, your 8 worldly concerns, you know. So he said, he's talking with his 8 worldly concern. Just sit still and don't try to pretend or don't try to do that. And so that is what he did. And that is one example, you know. The moment he tried to sit down to analyze what their intention, motivation, then he realized that, you know. But if he didn't take the time to actually take the time to check his motivation, maybe he might not be aware of that, you know. And so I think that is example why it's important for us to time to check our intention, motivations. And then if our intention, motivation is not as pure, correct, then trying to change it, trying to modify it, trying to make it more right, more positive, better. And so I think that can be one way of doing that. Yeah.
That's just brilliant. Thank you so much, Geshe. We wanted to offer you a mandala as a thank you so much for teaching us, and in particular for the bonus teaching today. We feel very quite overwhelmed with gratitude. I've had lots of comments in the chat also saying how incredibly clear your teachings are, and even though we've read this prayer so many times, it hasn't really kind of hit our heart or our mind so clearly. So thank you so very much. And for our mandala as a thank you, this ground anointed with a perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. We imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. May my venerable Lama's life be firm. Your life, Geshe Thubten, may it be extraordinarily long and healthy. His white divine actions spread in the 10 directions. May the torch of the teachings of Losang always remain, dispelling the darkness of all beings in the 3 realms. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamni Atayami. And Geshe, I wanted to ask everyone to turn on their cameras, because I think they have carters and offerings as a thank you. I hope you can see them all, and we have great big huge flower for you as well, Geshe.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone. Again, it's very nice to see all of you and have these connections, and to be able to discuss for the last 4 weeks. And I hope that at least maybe there's one small thing that you found helpful, beneficial, that you can apply in your life. And so if that happens, then I think us coming together have been served very much. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Geshe, and please come back and teach us again very, very soon across our webs of light on the internet. Please, it'd be wonderful to have you back again.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Yeah.
Do we have time for just a couple of the long life of the
yes.
the dedications? So
yes.
If you could lead, Geshe.
Gyawadi Nyoto Da Lama Sangye Tu Pyo Ne Dowa Chi Kyama Leba Te Sala Kwe Barasho. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geshe, and thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.